Where in the digital age, artificial intelligence has simplified academic life, but it is important for you to not to outsource your thinking capabilities to AI. You are young, you are innovative, you are creative. Make use of what God has given you. Read. So for young people, you have to take your education serious. If you are in school, take your books serious. Engage in extracurricular activities, because extracurricular activities are important as much as academic activities are important. I will always encourage young people to take their education serious, because that's the only way you will change your life and also make an impact in your immediate community and the society at large.
To the young people listening to you right now, who wants to be taken serious as leaders but feel like their voices is not enough, what is the first concrete thing you will tell them to do?
I have always emphasized on
my guest for today is someone who wears many hats and he wears them well. He is an author, a communication consultant, and the Speaker of the Gombe State Youth Parliament. But more than any title, he is someone who has committed his life to proving that how you speak can change what is possible for you and your community. Aliyu Danladi, you are very much welcome.
Thank you for having me, Zoera.
Okay, growing up in Gombe, were you naturally the one speaking in the room, or do you just learn it along the way?
Okay, so thank you so much for this question. I think it's more like a rephrase of the often asked question that are speakers born or made?
Yes.
If you'll ask me, I think it is both. For me, growing up as a child, I've always been outspoken. But I wasn't like this, of course. There has to be a process, because before someone could be made, there has to be a lot of challenges along the journey. So as a child, I was always outspoken. I was witty, but then I wasn't the one who spoke in every room. The change happened along the way after my secondary school. Before I went to the university, I had a mindset shift. After reading the book See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar, I realized my potential, and I realized that I had been underutilizing my potential. From there, when I went to Bayero University, Kano, I became a student leader. And of course, as a student leader, I was expected to communicate with my fellow students. And that was how I found myself contesting for presidency of the Students' Union government. And from there on, I think things have really been going well. So to answer your question, yes, I was outspoken in childhood.
Yes,
but I wasn't deliberate with my communication until later on in life.
Okay. You built an entire consultancy around communication. At what point did you realize that how you speak is not just a soft skill, but actually a form of power?
All right, the journey of Speak to Success started, I think, earlier than the consultancy was formed. Ever since I discovered my own communication skills, I realized that it is a skill that is needed in our society, and especially for young people. Yes. And that is commonly a challenge. We know a lot of people have the ideas, but to translate the ideas,
they don't know how to communicate,
yes, and even to express the ideas, yes, to maybe their family, to their community is a challenge. So I realized that, and before building Speak to Success Consultancy, I was engaged in a lot of trainings through different platforms such as the Joe Literary and Creativity Foundation. I was at a point we organized a creative writing workshop where I facilitated some aspect of it. And through different organizations here in Gombe, I was engaged in public speaking coaching. And I realized that, okay, since there is this challenge in our society, it's more like an opportunity for me
to come up with an idea.
To come up with an idea. And Speak to Success Consultancy started as Speak to Success Initiative, where we focus entirely on teaching public speaking. That was in 2024. And going forward in 2025, we felt that the right thing to do was to incorporate it as Speak to Success Consultancy, where we could explore a lot of opportunities around leadership and communication, because my interest lies in leadership and communication. And I feel most of the problems we're facing today, either in the public sector or private sector, lies in communication. If you're a businessman or you own a company, the best way to sell your company is through branding. And how do you do that? Is a form of communication also. Exactly. And also, as a public leader, you have to connect your ideas with your audience. So you realize that young people are said to be leaders of tomorrow, but if we don't groom them deliberately, we're not grooming the right leaders for tomorrow. Yes, and exactly. I feel that the modest way for me to give my contribution to society is to speak to Success Consultancy Ltd.
That's great. There is a popular saying that it is not what you see, but how you see it. Do you agree with that, or do you think that framing is actually misleading?
No, it's not misleading. I believe how you say what you say is as important as what you say. Because just take, for instance, you went to condole with someone, and then you are speaking and smiling at the same time, or be laughing. Do you think it will communicate the right message?
No.
No, at least you are expected to be sober. That spirit of mourning needs to be on your face, and even the words you say out should be measured. So that's to tell you, framing is very important, and especially for leaders, the way you frame your message will either connect with your audience or not. You might be saying the right thing, but if you're not saying it the right way, you might be miscommunicating actually. So framing is important in communication.
Okay. What is the difference between someone who can communicate and someone who leads through communication? Because not everyone who can talk is a leader.
Yes. All right, this is quite an interesting question. Just like, everyone who is blessed with the faculty of speech by nature can communicate.
Exactly.
Yes, it's a human skill. We all can communicate, but not everyone can communicate well, and not everyone can lead through communication. And as John C. Maxwell said, that communication is the most important tool for leadership. If you cannot communicate, you cannot lead. And Simon Sinek said that leadership is actually a way of thinking, a way of acting, and most importantly, a way of communicating. That's to underscore the importance of communication in leadership. And the most effective leaders, either political or corporate leaders, are those who can communicate well. And especially in this digital age, in the age of artificial intelligence, where AI is taking over a lot of human functions, especially technical and analytical, yes. You realize that the best way for you to stand out amongst your peers is for you to possess those human skills, those skills that make us human, and importantly, communication skills.
Yes.
So not everyone who can communicate can lead through communication, but I believe everyone who is deliberate enough to learn, especially to learn from the best, to practice, can also learn how to lead through communication.
Okay. Many young people in the North grow up in an environment where speaking up, especially in front of the elders or authoritative figures, is not always encouraged. How do that cultural concept shape the way young Northerners communicate or struggle to communicate in professional or civic spaces?
Yes, we have this culture in the North, more like restraint. There is always restraint that is expected on young people.
As a young person, yes.
As a young person, when an elderly person says what you don't agree with,
you cannot speak up.
Yes, you are especially not expected to speak out. And it affects us. You'll understand that culture also matters in terms of communication. Those who are raised in a background that allows them to express themselves freely grow up to become better communicators than those who face those challenges right from their childhood. Expect if they are able to overcome those challenges by, of course, speaking out and maybe changing their mindset.
Which is very difficult.
Which is very difficult, but possible.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing, that it is possible. I and every other communicator, from Northern Nigeria, we all grew up through that environment. And at a point, you will understand that initially I struggled with eye contact, like while speaking in public. And I realized that, okay, is as a result of my Fulani background.
Yes.
We all know that
Because
frequent eye contact in Fulani culture is seen as disrespectful.
Yes.
So I had to struggle. I had to be deliberate in keeping eye contact, especially with my audience. So that's to tell you that, yes, it is quite limiting, our kind of culture. But as you grow older and you are more deliberate, underline the word practice. The more you understand the importance of communication, you know the basics of communication, then the best thing for you is to practice while being careful of those weaknesses you are having. Of course, everyone could improve themselves through constant practice. So you have to take that challenge for you to go out there, speak more frequently, and especially interact with those cycles that force you or compel you to speak out. The more you engage with the civic space, the business space, the more you communicate. So the most important thing is for you to go out of your shell, mingle with people, and communicate.
Okay. I think in Gombe State, there are like 60% of the people in Gombe State are youth, and that's a huge number. What do you think is the communication gap that explains why youth have not translated into real institute influence in the North?
Yes, communication is one of those challenges, just like other leadership skills. Our young people, their kind of grooming is at a point is that sometimes you have to take that personal initiative yourself, because the kind of society we grow up in does not really encourage mentorship to a sort. And there are, of course, mentors who are doing well to mentor young ones, but you realize that there is gap because the population of young people is always growing, and we are not deliberate enough in putting those institutional mechanisms to see that we groom young people into great leaders. There are mentorship platforms in Gombe, but how many are they? Are they up to 100?
No.
I think no.
Do people even know about it?
Yes, and I think even the coaching industry is kind of upcoming, especially in Nigeria,
Yes.
and particularly
In
in the north.
So,
But go to other places in the United States of America, I think the coaching industry is a very large industry where people are taught life skills, communication skills, leadership skills. So the institutions we have in place do not correspond with the number of young people we have, especially with the teeming young number of young people. Just like you mentioned the statistics, we have over 65% of young people in Gombe who are below the age of 34.
30.
That's to tell you that that's a huge number. And unless we take deliberate steps at mentoring these young people, we are going to have elders in the future who do not have the right sense of direction. And especially for our young people today that are growing up in a world full of distractions, we have to keep them focused and occupied to see that they are doing the right thing. So I think the institutions are there, and also as young people and as individuals who have had that privilege for us to make a kind of mark on the leadership space, it is a responsibility for each and every one of us to go back to their community and see how they could give back to the community.
Okay. For those who do not know what the Youth Parliament is, can you explain to us what it is all about?
Yes, the Youth Parliament is a legislative body comprising of young parliamentarians across all the constituencies of Gombe State. We have 24 constituencies, so do we have 24 young members representing each and every constituency in the state. And the major essence of the Youth Parliament is to deliberate on important issues around education, healthcare, climate change, and other forms of civic engagement, and to forward those resolutions to the government. We do not make laws. Of course, we are under the Gombe State House of Assembly with supervision from the Gombe State Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, but all our resolutions are advisory. So whenever we usually have quarterly sittings, and after each sitting, there is a resolution which is passed to the state government to advise it on issues affecting young people. And the essence of the Youth Parliament is a global platform. We are more like affiliated with the Nigerian Youth Parliament, which comprises legislators across all the states of Nigeria. So the essence of the Youth Parliament is to serve as a legislative body first, and also as a leadership training ground for young people.
Okay. Let's say you walk into a room with traditional leaders, government officials, who may not take you serious on arrival. Like, you're a young person. What is this one doing here? How do you use communication to shift that dynamic without coming across as disrespectful?
Yes, I've been in such situations several times in my life, especially as a young person who is into leadership and civic engagement. I've been in rooms comprising of traditional rulers, religious leaders, and political leaders.
Yes,
So the best thing for you first is to be respectful.
exactly.
You have to understand that you are not speaking to your age mates, you are speaking to people
And not your younger ones
and
as
not
well.
your younger ones as well. And that's what takes us to how you frame your message. For you to be respectful and to have the substance. Because we often have young people who think that hot headedness alone is what they need to make a change in society. And
It is
that's
not
not.
true.
It is
Yes.
not true. Whatever you are doing, if you are an advocate, you have to be into evidence driven advocacy. Have your facts. In such instance that you mentioned, okay, what am I to speak on? Is it on youth empowerment? I have to get my statistics right. I have to get all
Yes.
my facts and figures. Okay, we have so number of young people in Gombe State, and these are the challenges young people are facing in terms of unemployment, in terms of drug abuse, lack of direction. Okay, what do these institutions, how could they contribute? The traditional institution, I will address to that. The religious
political.
institution and the political institution. So the most important thing is for you to understand your message and of course understand your audience, because the more you understand your audience, the more you choose the right words. Context matters in communication. And for every room, there is always a right message for that room.
Okay. In your inauguration speech as a speaker, you said this mandate is not about you, but about the voice of the youth of Gombe State. How do you communicate that to an institution that is still learning to take youth governance seriously?
Yes, I have mentioned this in my previous response. First is for you to be more evidence driven. Just like I mentioned in the inaugural speech, that the mandate is not just about me, it's about young people whose voices we have the mandate to amplify. The youth parliament does not comprise of myself alone.
Yes.
There are other members and we all have the same purpose. So whenever we have our sittings, like I mentioned too, there is always a proceeding from such sittings, which we communicate to the media. And as representatives of young people, we frequently get invitations to programs that are aimed at amplifying youth voices. And we have organized different programs aimed at bringing young people together, listening to their voices and propagating the voice to the government and relevant authorities. So, of course, we know there are, just like we have success stories, there are also challenges. And like you mentioned, I wouldn't say that our institutions here do not understand the importance of youth voices, but notwithstanding, there needs to be more consideration for young people. We have about a population of young people that is more than 65%
That
of the
is more
state.
than half of the state.
That's to tell you that this constituency is important. But oftentimes, you'll see that institutionally there are challenges. So the best way we've been doing is for us to be evidence driven and for us to, where we are having challenges, maybe from the institutions to come in, we explore other ways of making impact. That is why we are young. We are supposed to be creative. We are supposed to be energetic. And the Youth Parliament under my watch has been collaborating with different organizations, partnering with them, organizing programs that are aimed at equipping young people with the right skills. Like recently we had the Gombe Youth Leadership Workshop, which was aimed at equipping young people with leadership skills, which was in partnership with the Youth Development Center of the Presidential Library of Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta. I was privileged to be part of their presidential youth mentorship retreat last year. And after coming back, I felt that, okay, this is the right time for us to
do something.
Yes, to trickle down the lessons we learned there down to our young people. And we partnered with the library. They were able to give us support for us to organize that program. So for as young people, we're always trying to be creative and innovative to see that we make an impact on our society.
Okay. Through Speak to Success, you work with young leaders and professionals regularly. What is the single most common communication problem you keep seeing, regardless of background or education?
Okay, I think the most common problem I've been encountering for young people and other professionals alike is lack of clarity. You'll find out that people have the message, everyone has a message, everyone has an idea in their mind, but how
they
to
don't know how to
communicate it
propose that
clearly.
idea.
Yes, and especially underline the word clarity. A lot of people have the idea, but they cannot communicate it clearly. So I have often faced this challenge across different rooms, and one of the ways we propose to young people and other leaders to overcome such problems is maybe write down your idea. The more you write down your idea, you are forced to think and reflect on it. And as you speak it out, also, you gain more clarity.
Exactly.
But you cannot be effective in your communication unless you are clear in your communication. So if there is any challenge I've noticed around young people is clarity. And I think it doesn't just end with communication, even in life, in their career choice,
Yes,
in
people
their
don't
in
have
their
that
academic
clarity.
choice.
Yes.
People don't have clarity. They don't know what to study in school. Just because their friends are all going to medicine or pharmacy or law,
They
everyone
also,
wants to go there,
yes, everyone wants to go
whether
there.
their strength lies there or not. So clarity is a challenge, and we've been deliberate in saying that we help people gain more clarity in their career, in their life, and communication.
Okay. Leadership communication breaks down most under pressure, during conflicts, during crisis, when emotions are high. What is your approach when every word you choose could cost you?
Yes, silence. Because one thing we don't understand is
They
that
say silent is the best answer, actually. So
and communication is not just about the words you say. Sometimes it's also about the words
you
you
do
don't
not
say.
see.
In situations of conflict, I think the best way for you is to respond, not just react. Anger is one of the extreme human emotions. When you are angry, you tend to react immediately. So the best thing you could do as a leader is for you to pause, take some deep breath,
And
sip some
reflect.
water, reflect, and then respond to the situation. And I think great leaders usually master such strategies. You'll find out that when a conflict is happening, great leaders do not respond immediately all the time. Although there are times that the best way to overcome such challenge is to respond immediately to
yes.
troubleshoot. But then there are ways that you have to let emotions calm down before you respond in the right way.
Okay.
So sometimes it's just about silence, just like it's about words.
Okay. Your work has appeared in Brittle Paper and the Kalahari Review, two of the most respectable literary platforms on the continent. You also write speeches and run communication workshops. How does writing make you a better speaker? And how does speaking make you a better writer?
Wow. This is one of the most interesting questions you've asked me. And you're aware, I have been a writer for some time now.
Yes.
Just like I've been a communication consultant and a public speaker. And I believe each one has been reinforcing the other.
The other, yes.
So, and one of the ways I mentioned for one to get more clarity is for them to write down their thoughts
And ideas.
And for me, writing has always been a way for me to find clarity, because I am someone who believes in communication either through the written or spoken word. And I utilize both platforms, and I wouldn't say equally, depending on the situation. As a youth leader, I tend to speak now more than I write. But then there are some deep thoughts and ideas that I can only capture by writing. So sometimes when there is an interaction, a deep interaction that has affected me so much, I tend to go back, pick my pen or pick my phone, type into it, pour down all my ideas. So writing has been helping me in getting more clarity. And for speech, yes, it has also helped in my writing, because the more you understand words, the spoken word, it also helps you in your writing, such that your writing will get a natural rhythm. It will get a natural flow, such that when you are writing, you are imagining yourself speaking.
Yes.
So what is the bottom line? That each form of communication is reinforcing the other. So, and for me, I think I've been a lot of people think that it is a rare combination for someone to be a good writer and a good speaker. I wouldn't call myself perfect in both, but I think I've been utilizing both platforms effectively.
Okay. Your book, Storm Across the Sahel, won first runner-up for the Abubakar Gimba Prize fiction. Fiction is often dismissed as entertainment rather than a leadership or advocacy tool. How do you think about storytelling, whether written or spoken, as a strategy to create a real change?
Okay, let's even assume it is dismissed as a form of entertainment. Is entertainment not important in our lives?
It is.
How much are entertainers getting paid to
A
perform
lot.
globally? I think so. Let's even assume it's a form of entertainment that is important. But beyond entertainment, fiction serves as a way to humanize our experiences. Just take, for instance, there is a case happened. For instance, 500 people lost their lives in an accident. To the average person, it has almost become a statistics, especially in our today's world, where crises are prevalent. But the more you take one victim, narrate their story, express how much that accident has truncated their dreams or has made their children orphans, just imagine the response it will get from your audience.
A lot.
Like, they tend to connect with such victims, their families, and their parents. So that's to tell you that fiction, and just take, for instance, my book, Storm Across the Sahel, that you mentioned, it has humanized the Boko Haram insurgency. Most of the stories are around northeastern Nigeria, especially during the time of Boko Haram insurgency, which as a writer I felt has been underreported, especially in the literary world. There has been a lot of journalism platforms that have captured the Boko Haram insurgency, especially international media and our local media like Human Angle. But then come to the literary world, there are just few books that have been written to that end. And I felt, as someone who has lived in Gombe, who has experienced the Boko Haram firsthand, because there were bomb blasts in Gombe, Gombe has been a host for a lot of internally displaced persons. I feel like, okay, I've witnessed this important phase of our history, and the best way for me to immortalize such experience is through fiction. So fiction, like Chinua Achebe mentioned in one of his writings, that in one of his essays, that he usually laughs at those people who think that fiction is not a serious business. Okay, they would rather read economics, they would rather read political science, while they don't realize that for someone to write a great fiction, he has to have an understanding of our social our construct, our
And
politics, our economics, and what is going on. So fiction is beyond entertainment. It is a form of expressing the human condition.
Okay. How did all these recognitions shape you to who you are today?
Okay, I think I take every recognition as an avenue to do more. Yes, it's not an end to itself. And I think that's for just people who are aspiring for excellence. They don't usually get stuck with one particular recognition. So for every recognition I take, I see it as, okay, my work is being seen, and I see it as a motivation for me to do more. And yes, just like I mentioned, it's more like a fuel. Whenever I get a recognition, I feel like, okay, someone has recognized your work. So what if you could do more? And for me, it's not usually about the recognition alone. It's about the impact. Because for whatever I'm doing, either in terms of communication, in terms of leadership, I imagine that a lot of people are looking up to me, and the impact might not directly touch millions, but indirectly, you don't know. For one person whose mindset you've changed,
Tomorrow you can change millions.
you can change millions, or even that same person could be the tool through which millions or thousands other people could change.
Yes. Okay. So what is harder, writing stories or writing speeches?
Writing stories.
Okay, it is harder. Yes. Okay. What does the next chapter of your work look like, and who are you trying to reach that you have not been able to reach yet?
Wow, that's quite a tricky question. Because for me, I'm someone who usually likes living in the moment. whatever present opportunity I'm having, I always like to make the best
Out of
out
it.
of it. Mostly we fail to live because we worry about the future and regret the past so much. But those who truly live are those who live in the present, take the opportunities before them, and make the best out of it. That is why for the Gombe State Youth Parliament, for instance, ever since I came on board, I have sacrificed a lot, personally and professionally, just for me to see that it is a phase of life. I wouldn't be there in the next 2 years. So for the remaining time I'm having, the best thing to do is for me to maximize the impact. So the next chapter for me is all about impact. Wherever I find myself is, how do you make the best impact? I was speaking with a friend some time ago for you to understand the kind of mindset I am having. We were discussing about career. We are still exploring career options. And I told him
Yes.
that if I'm to go into business, I would want to be one of the best business leaders. If I'm to go into the academia, the aim is to become a professor. If I'm to go into policy making, is to reach the hem of affairs globally in terms of policy. So for me, wherever I find myself, I want to maximize my potential. And those people I haven't reached at this moment are those we have been making efforts to reach out to young people, especially outside the metropolis in rural areas. But I think there are still places we have not reached, and the aim is for the Gombe State Youth Parliament and for my work at Speak to Success and every other platform I am leading is for my work to reach as most people as possible.
Okay. To the young people listening to you right now, who wants to be taken serious as leaders but feel like their voices is not enough, what is the first concrete thing you will tell them to do?
I have always emphasized on education because the best way for you to make impact is through education. If I didn't go to school, I don't think I would have been speaking as I am speaking now. Of course, I might if I went to other trainings, but that is also a form of education.
Yes.
So for young people, you have to take your education serious. If you are in school, take your books serious. We're in the digital age, as much as artificial intelligence has simplified life today, has simplified academic life, but it is important for you to not to outsource your thinking capabilities to AI. You're a young person, you're young, you're innovative, you're creative. Make use of what God has given you. Read, engage in extracurricular activities because extracurricular activities are important as much as academic activities are important. So for young people, I will always encourage young people to take their education serious because that's the only way you will change your life and also make an impact in your immediate community and the society at large.
Okay. So what is the difference between someone who can talk and someone who can lead?
Okay, like I previously mentioned, almost everyone can talk. Yes, as long as they have that faculty of speech. And okay, almost everyone can also lead. But then the process by which you become a leader is something that has to take constant practice and knowledge. So as a young leader or as an aspiring leader, you have to go through that process. First to understand yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what are the circumstances around you. And after understanding yourself, understanding the people you are leading. If it is in the corporate space, understand maybe your employees. If you are a manager, for instance, or if you are a political leader, you have to understand your constituents. What are their needs? And for good leaders, they have to set their target according to the needs of their followers. So in terms of leadership, it has to take a deliberate effort in terms of improving yourself, in terms of understanding the people you are leading, and also aligning your personal ambition with their vision. Your vision has to be comprehensive so that it carries everyone along. Because we are always talking about inclusive leadership. And how could we achieve inclusive leadership? Leaders have to become selfless and become committed to the people they are leading.
Okay. What does good communication cost you that nobody talks about?
Cost?
Yes.
Is it in terms of the benefits or?
In terms of it can be benefits, it can be loss.
Well, I don't think good communication can cost you anything, except maybe your ego sometimes. You understand?
So at least it's something. Yes, now.
But when you talk about good communication, there are more benefits to it because you tend to communicate. When you improve your communication, you connect better with your family members, you connect better with your community and the society at large. So, as a good leader, and just like I mentioned John C. Maxwell initially, that the most important tool for leadership is communication. If you cannot communicate, you cannot lead. So there are more benefits. Yes,
than the loss.
of
Okay.
course.
How do you teach a young person to find their voices when the system is always telling them not to?
Yes. Yes, this is something I've done over and over again. And we've discussed how culture sometimes hinders our expression abilities. So when you meet a young person, for me, the first thing I do is to assess their needs. What are their strengths in terms of communication? What are their weaknesses? Is it in terms of clarity, lack of confidence, or lack of platform? So after understanding their needs, and then we think of the best way to groom them. That is why at Speak to Success, we have a lot of packages for young people. We have our master classes, which registration is currently ongoing, and we also have one-on-one mentorship, both virtual and physical, where people are being mentored to improve their communication ability. So when I meet a young person, I understand their needs and think of the best ways to mentor them and also to provide platform. We have a lot of platform because you can be a good communicator as long as you don't have a platform for you to be exercising or practicing such skills, you will not improve. So the moment we give young people platform, which we have done over and over again, we realize that they tend to improve in their communication and they eventually find their voice, making a difference in their society.
Okay. Let's talk about climate change. Climate vulnerability in northern Nigeria is catastrophic and underrepresented. Why do you think the national level is not interested in that aspect?
Are you sure it's not interested?
From all
Maybe,
indications,
or it has not given as much
as much
attention as it
attention to,
should.
yes, that's not interesting now.
Yes,
They're
yes,
not
yes.
interested.
I think just like you rightly mentioned, climate vulnerability is a real issue that is affecting us all around in terms of agriculture, in terms of livelihood, especially the masses are suffering for it. And globally, there are platforms that have been discussing such in terms of climate justice, seeing how people are affected by climate scenarios. So, to respond to your question, I think maybe it stems down to the kind of perception society has. You realize that things of economic value are usually given more precedence more than any other social or environmental factor.
And I think
But
the
then,
society at large need to be educated more on the climate changes and all of that.
yes. And unknowingly, the society has not realized that also climate challenges are not just environmental, they are
Yes.
economic as well. Just check about the variation we're having in rainfall, which usually affects crop yield and has been also affecting plants. A lot of our
Exactly.
trees are dying, trees that are commercial trees. Talk about rainfall variability, as I mentioned, has been affecting crop yield and has also been affecting the masses, especially where we are having more frequent floods across different states, which is also an effect of climate change. So I think the society needs to be reoriented, like you mentioned,
Yes.
and the best way we could achieve that reorientation is through personal responsibility. And for me, currently, I'm an advocate under the SDSN, that is the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. The youth wing has an SDG advocates program which I've been participating in. Just 2 days ago, on Monday and Tuesday, I implemented my project titled Eco Hygiene at the Gombe Secondary School, Pantami, where over 200 students were oriented in terms of climate change and how they could take responsibility. Part of the campaign, we planted 10 trees in the school premises. So that's to tell you that the best way we will achieve that climate awareness we are looking for is for us to take that personal responsibility. If you are aware, it is now on you
Your
to
responsibility, yes,
educate
the next
starting
person.
your family and also with your community.
Okay. Oh, okay. One thing you did tell a young person in Gombe right now who wants to lead but doesn't think their voice is enough.
I will tell them that their voice is enough because it is, and you don't really know how much impact you
can make until you try.
until you voice out. For me, when I started, I think 10 years ago, I didn't know I would find myself here, but it all started with that initiative. After I decided to become a leader, connect more with young people, speak to issues that affect young people. And today, this is where we are, serving as a bridge between young people and the government. So to the next young person, they don't know where their story will end. They know, of course, they might know the beginning, but they will never know the ending. Take for instance, Malala. I think when she started to advocate for girl child education, she didn't know she would become a global champion. Take for instance our own Alhan Islam. When she started her spoken word poetry, she never knew she would become the first UN peace global peace advocate of the United Nations. So you might only know the beginning of your journey,
but you don't know the end.
You won't know the end of that journey. And life generally is lived forward but understood in retrospect.
Okay, before you go, one word that defines where you are going.
I think possibilities.
Okay.
I see a lot of possibilities in leadership, in capacity building. And as much as I work hard and try to utilize my skills, I still believe I have a lot of potential that I'm not utilizing. So for every other young leader, they should be able to see those possibilities. Especially in this global digital age where there are a lot of opportunities for your career development, for your academic growth. So just see the possibilities and go out there to utilize those possibilities.
Okay, thank you so much, Ali, for coming.
Thank you, Zoira, for having me.
Yeah, well, you're very much welcome.